Welcome back, friends, to the second half of the Silvanus intro, and I'd like to show you what an actual battle will look like in real time and then timeless version. This is what you would actually see during the game as a player in its total, unlike the first video. And this is also all 8 colors of Halots. Now, as I said before, much of Silvanus has to do with battles, and this deck here is your health deck, and it shows you how many weapons you can carry as far as offense or defense or however you set it up, and keeps track of your health. When you lose a life, of course you lose legs on your spider. And this would be an example of a game in progress where they have a defensive weapon, which this one happens to be a coin, which acts as a shield, and when you're a small spider in the beginning of the game, and later in different stories it would be an actual shield because of your size. Also, here is an offensive weapon, Spider of 9 Legs, which is basically like Cat of 9 Tails, the spider version. And each of these weapons do different things that help you. For example, this one, you only have to do half the Halots in an encounter with an enemy rather than all of them. And this coin happened to give you 2 times focus. What focus is what the main board is for, is how much time you actually have to complete your sequence of the enemy. But unlike other games, instead of having a sandglass or a timer or anything like that, it's actually done by another player dealing out the sequence and then dealing out the amount of focus onto this board in a circle. That's how much time you have to solve the sequence. I'll show you an example here quick. Okay, let's say your partner player, while they're dealing the sequence of the enemy, you're going to be spinning your Halots to match them. As soon as they start dealing the colors, you don't want to wait till they deal the first 4. As soon as you see the first one, start doing it, because that gives you a little extra time than normal. But let's say we have an enemy of 4, as I mentioned in the first video, and this is what you're dealt. Now, as you see, the value of the enemy is 4, so you also get that much focus points. So at the same speed as your partner is dealing these 4, they immediately start dealing 4 to this circle of focus, kind of like a clock. And then they would say stop or halt. That would be how much time it took your partner to deal these 4 and then deal those 4 that. You have to flip these around to match the sequence there, which doesn't seem like much time. This is why you want to have different defense and offensive weapons in the game, to make it easier. Also, like I said before, you have your character cards, which when you don't have weapons, you can use their special abilities. For example, Saphira here has the ability of Intellect, which lets you ignore one Halot when you're resolving an encounter. Like I said, encounter is actually meeting an enemy, either defensive or offensive. So that means one of these four of an enemy of four can be wrong when the time's up and you still win. It's pretty powerful. Of course, there's other characters in the game with different abilities, and I won't go through all of them, but there's plenty there to choose from. And another part of the game, which I didn't mention before, has each round, which is going around these decks once, there's a natural circumstance that happens called happenstance. There's actually, in the rules, there's references to symbols in the cards. What you do is take one deck and shuffle it, and the symbol on the top will mean something happens during that round, usually to hurt you, but sometimes help you by referring to the chart. This just makes every game a little bit different. You can also make the game more difficult by adding one extra card to each deck, so each Halot will be 4 cards instead of 3, which makes it a lot harder because you have more to sift through. Now, as I said before, the different way to play if you don't like time games is to simply, instead of having your partner time you in here, you have 8 moves to get this sequence correct. It's always however you actually have in front of you for the enemy plus what your partner deals out to you. So if it was an enemy of 2, then you only get 4 moves to make this deck match. And that's all I have for the last introduction to Silvanus.